Okay, in this video we are just going to talk about the object statuses, the different object statuses. There are four main object statuses. One is standard, maintain, change, manual. Okay, standard means it basically comes by default from SU24, all the values pre-filled. All the values pre-filled. Maintain means it comes from SU24 in an open status, and then it lets you put values as desired. Manual means you are inserting the object manually. Change status means you are changing the standard object. So we are going to look at each one of these. So first thing we need to do is you need to go to utilities, turn technical names on. So this will enable you to see all the technical names of the objects. So this will enable you to see all the technical name of the object. So first let's go and look at maintained. Okay, so maintained means this object was come into this role not without any values, and we have filled up with star. Let's say manual. This was entered into the role manually. Okay. One of the disadvantages of entering manually is if you click on this icon here, where used list, it will not show you the transaction which it is linked to. It will not show you the transaction which it is linked to. Whereas if you click on this icon maintained or standard, let's say maintained, show you this transaction is linked to AWO0N. Okay. So in standard also you'll see the same thing. If you click on the standard, any standard transaction, it will show you where this object is coming from. So this object is being shared by these four transactions. Okay, for example, when I touch the standard transaction and change some of the values, let's say I put okay, when we touch a standard transaction, and try to change it, you watch what happens. So it becomes changed. Status changed. So now we have four statuses. One is maintained, changed, standard, and also manual. So for manual, you just click manual, and then so now it becomes a manual change. Okay. So let's say, for example, you don't want to insert manually. Right? You don't want to insert manually, but you want to just copy this, right? You can just say, click on copy, and it will copy it for you. And then if you want to change this, let's say, for example, you want to have this as change display for authorization group right? But you want display so in this case we are giving change and display access to authorization group but we are just giving display access to everything else. So here in this case it becomes changed. So one of the things you need to do is you go to utilities, settings, make sure everything is checked on. Then save the settings. Okay, the last step you need to do is generate. Okay, so next thing I am going to show you is how these values are coming in to this role from SU24. How this values for each of transaction is coming from SU24. So for example, if you click here, this says it comes from SU01, right? This object value settings are coming from SU01. So this means its standard value is 16, 16, and then the two other object values are open. Standard value is 16, and two other object values are open. Okay, so if you open like that, so 16, and two of these values are open. So if you can see the blue color, that means these values have been maintained in this role. So I'm going to go to SU24 and then show you this value, how it looks in SU24. /n SU24. So I'm going to do SU01 is the transaction it was linked to. So I'm going to do SU01. Execute. So this is the SU24 screen. This screen basically tells us what are the different objects which are going to come into the role. Anything which says yes, yes, yes means these are the objects which are going to get pulled into the role, SAP role, when you basically punch in the transaction. When you basically punch in the transaction. 1 second. I want to set a filter by proposal status. So I want to look at all the statuses which are yes. All the statuses which are yes. So if you look at all the statuses, let's say I want to look at all these statuses. So these are, when you punch in the transaction, these are the things which are going to come into the role. Okay, so if you look at field values, so you can see 16, right, and then both fields are open, right. Its default value is 16, which is maintained from here, and then both fields are open. So this will come in as maintained. When you set this values, it will become maintained. Right? So if you enter any value other than this yes, it will become manual. If you enter anything other than this values, it will become manual. So for example, if I want to look at all the values, right? So let's say I want to look up all the values, just put all the values, and then to show me the values set in SU24 for all these objects. So these are the objects which are going to come into the role with these default values. Okay. Thanks for enjoying the video. Please, if you need more, please go to sapsecuritytrainer.com. www.sapsecuritytrainer.com. Thank you. This is Selva.